Yesterday, Kliff Kingsbury, Commanders' offensive coordinator, spoke. Really might be his first public comments.
Was it?
Kingsbury. It might be the first time he's talked since he was hired. I think he's done one presser. Maybe there's another one I'm forgetting about. But certainly the first time we've talked to Kingsbury, I believe, since they drafted Jayden and kind of have their roster together. Let's start with Kliff number 3, Landini. What he thinks of Jayden Daniels.
It's early, but what do you think of Jayden so far?
He's intentional in everything he does, which I like. That's what we had heard about him coming up, and that's what he's been since he's been here. He's been focused, intentional, and got to work. So that's been fun to be around.
Fun to be around. Intentional is such an intentional word. I like that. Like, this dude is obsessed with football, and he's
totally
super focused.
But you know what? When you say somebody's obsessed with something, it sounds negative. But you know what? When you are the tool that's used in your profession, you should be obsessed with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think he's just dedicated to his craft.
And that's how you get better every year.
I mean, it's like I know people, like the word obsessed normally has a negative connotation with it. But no, this is a guy who, I'll say it a different way, he's dedicated to his craft. And that's what the hell you want. You don't want all these guys that are supposed to be quarterbacks, but guess what? They want to be hanging out more than all the other players. They don't want to spend extra time. How about the football players that really don't like football? You know what I mean? You got to love what you're doing if you're going to be damn good at it.
Now, we talk so much about Jayden that I was kind of interested to hear Kliff talk about some other guys. Number 13, Landini, is Kingsbury talking about, because we talked about Wagner early in the program. I think the front office, Peters, Quinn, whoever you want to credit, was intentional in some of the guys they brought in. Mm-hmm. Think about veterans like Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz and what they can bring to a program.
And then with guys like Austin and Zach, what kind of little things can they impart to the group out here?
Yeah, they've seen the highs and lows. They've seen the good teams, the bad teams. And so just talking through what a good team looked like, what their standards were, their practices, how guys worked, and then the teams that could have been good and weren't, what were the pitfalls with that? So they've all been really good as far as sharing that, been open and been leaders, which is not easy to do when you come into a new place. But they really embraced it, and I think the guys have embraced them.
I like that one. And there were a couple, like we keep talking about the energy and everything from the coaching staff, right? I think it's almost more important to hear the coaches talk about it. Zach Ertz was really good about it. Give me 15 and then 16 if you can, Landini. This is Kliff talking about the staff he has joined in Washington.
And you've been a head coach, you've been other places. The vibe here, we've all been here and seen the downtimes. What's the vibe you're getting from your entire staff?
Yeah, DQ sets the tone, DQ and AP. They want to bring positive energy, high energy, want these guys to want to be in the building and do the best job we can coaching. And so that definitely trickles down to all of us assistants and all the players. And so I've been really pleased and been really happy to be here and be around those guys because of the tone they've set in the building.
The tone they've set in the building, it's top down, man. It's everybody's buying in.
You see it. I mean, the ultimate thing, and I know we have looked at things, and we always, when we blame things, we said gone from the top down, which it does. But ultimately, if you have a GM who's about something, and he get the head coach about something, and then your O coordinator, your D coordinator are about something, you could win despite negativity at the ownership level. I think, but no, I'm saying in the previous years, if you had those other things, we've had a lot of BS at the GM and the head coach level. So that is what really leads your franchise as far as the football stuff goes. Right now, you got an owner who's top notch, who gives a damn about his team, and then he still has all those positive things in the position that you need to have him at. So I don't know when, but I'm expecting things to be way better than what they've been.
Well, another thing, when we were talking with PFT earlier in the hour, if you want to hear our interview with PFT commenter, go rewind or whatever. Go to the app, Odyssey app. We all acknowledge that Dan Quinn has built a hell of a staff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that also shows? Commitment from ownership. Because you know how you build a hell of a staff? You have to pay these dudes.
Yeah.
like,
but I told you,
you're not leaving the Niners to come here unless you're getting a raise.
When I talked to Adam at the Super Bowl at the Commanders event, and I was like, man, y'all getting some good coaches here. He said, that's all because of Dan. And I said, what do you mean? He said, these people had relationships with him and knew him and wanted to come coach with him. It wasn't like all of my connections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to give some level of credit to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's last one, because I think this is what's most important, right? Is Jayden, is how you make it work with Jayden. And I think if you're Kliff, Kliff was a quarterback, has developed quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. He worked with Caleb Williams last year.
Mm-hmm.
But part of developing, there's a reason you don't learn engineering in third grade. You have to give people information. You have to meet them where they are, right? And Jayden is just getting used to the NFL. So I'm curious how you bring information along slowly to somebody that's really gifted. I thought Kliff gave a great answer.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Over 4 years, when we first got Kyler, it didn't start out what it ended up year 4, year 3. It was we did things that we felt he could be really successful at, and then try to build and let him grow and us grow together. And we wanted to make sure I didn't start at some point that would overwhelm anybody. And I think that's, as an OC, that's always a tricky part. You have a lot of good stuff that you've collected over the years. You got to make sure it's simple enough that guys can have confidence and build and grow together.
I really like that answer. And I also want to remind everybody that with Kliff and Kyler in year 1, Kyler won the Rookie of the Year. And by the way, Jayden Daniels at that point in time was living in Arizona at Arizona State, which is in or Tempe as some people call it, which is right there in Phoenix. And that Kliff and Jayden have all said, oh yeah, we knew Jayden when he was at ASU when it was me and Kyler in Arizona.
Yeah.
Entirely possible to hit the ground running, folks.